Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 18, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Text 1, Arjun Uvacha. Sannyasasya Mahabaho Tattvam Ichhami Veditum Tyagasya Cha Rishikesha Prathakeshi Nishudana.
Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, tyaga, and of the renounce, order of life, sannyasa, O killer of the Kasi demon, master of the senses.
Text 2, Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sannyasam Kavyo Vidu Sarva Karma Fal Tyagam Prahus Tyagam Vichakshana.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga.
Text 3, Tyajam doshvad iti eke karma prahur manishina yagya dan tapah karma na tyajam iti chapare.
Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned.
Text 4, Nishcham shranu me tatra tyage bharat sattatam tyago hi purush vyagra trividha samprakirtita.
O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds.
Text 5, Yagya dana tapah karma na tyajam karyam etat yagyo danam tapascheva pavunani manishinam.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls.
Text 6, Etani apitu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani me partha nishchitam matam uttamam.
All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of results. They should be performed as a matter of duty. O son of Pritha, that is my final opinion.
Text 7, Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityagas tamasah parikirtita.
Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Text 8, Dukham iti ev yat karma kaya klesh bhayatyajit sakratva raj samtyagam nev tyag phalam labhet.
Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation.
Text 9, Karyam iti ev yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyakta phalam cheva satyaga satviko mata.
O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done, and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 10. Nadveshti akushalam karma kushle nanushajyate tyagi sattva samavishto medhavi chhin sanshaya.
The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work, nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work.
Text 11. Nahi deha bhratya shakyam tyaktum karmanyasheshata yastu karma phal tyagi satyagi abhidhiyate.
It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who is truly renounced.
Text 12. Anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividham karmana phalam bhavati atyaginam pretya na tu sannyasinam kvachit.
For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy.
Text 13. Panchetani mahabaho karanani nibodh me sankhye kratante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam.
O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me.
Text 14. Adhishtanam tatha karta karnam cha prathak vidham vividhascha prathak cheshta devam chevatra panchamam.
The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul, these are the 5 factors of action.
Text 15. Sharirvang manobhiyat karma prarabdhe nara nyayam va viparitam va panch ete tasya hetava.
Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors.
Text 16. Tatrevam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuya pashyati akrat buddhitvat nasa pashyati durmati.
Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are.
Text 17. Yasya nahankrato bhavo buddhi yasya na lipyate hatvapi sa iman lokan na hanti na nibadyate.
One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions.
Text 18. Jnanam gyayam parigyata trividha karma chodana karnam karma karteti trividha karma sangraha.
Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constituents of action.
Text 19. Jnanam karma cha karta cha tridhaiva gun bhedata prochate gun sankhyane यथावत् शृणुतानि अपि.
According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action and performer of action. Now hear of them from me.
Text 20. सर्वभूतेषु येनेकं भावम् अव्ययम् इक्षते अविभक्तं विभक्तेषु तज्ज्ञानं विधि सात्विकम्.
That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 21. पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नाना भवान् पृथक्विदान् वेति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विधिराज.
That knowledge by which is that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion.
Text 22. यत्तु प्रसन्नवद् एकस्मिन् कार्ये सक्तम् अहेतुकम् अतत्व अर्थवद् अल्पं च तत्तामसम् उदाहृतम्.
And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness.
Text 23. नियतं संगरहितं अराग द्वेषत् कृतं अफल प्रेप्सुना कर्म यत्तत् सात्विकम् उच्यते.
That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 24. यत्तु कामेप्सुना कर्म सहंकारेण वा पुनः क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राजसम् उदाहृतम्.
But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion.
Text 25. अनुबंधं क्षयं हिंसाम् अनपेक्ष्य च पौरुषम् मोहाद् आरभ्यते कर्म यत्तत् तामसम् उच्यते.
Sorry, I can't see the screen. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of his scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Buddha Matajis. Thank you so much for a wonderful recitation. And thank you everyone for joining every single day. Thank you for your enthusiasm. And it's very inspiring for all the facilitators, I'm sure, to be able to share something with you all. So very grateful for that. Before we start, I would like to recite the Mangalacharan prayers, and I hope you will also be reciting with me behind the muted mics. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप गदामह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणम् परमानंद माधवम श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरम। Om Tat Sat. We are discussing chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, and today's verse is verse number 17. So, is the screen visible? The slides that I have shared? Can
Yes.
somebody?
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the chapter 18 is conclusion, the perfection of renunciation, and we are on the second section. It's a very long chapter, longest in Bhagavad Gita, 78 verses. So today we will conclude the second section with verse number 17, and then the third section will begin from tomorrow. So our today's verse is verse number 17, and I'll try to share something with your permission and blessings. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. यस्य नाहङ्कृतो भावो बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान् न हन्ति न निबध्यते. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. And the purport, anyone would like to read it?
Can I read Mataji?
Yes, Pujamataji, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Arjuna thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without. If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? But one who knows the instruments of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Sectioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never in illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from false ego and godlessness or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Super Soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing, does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so the purport is this verse is a beautiful verse, and I'm very happy to be discussing, sharing something on this verse. There are several points here to consider, and we will see one by one. We'll try to see within the time frame what we can cover. So we always start the verse with connection with the previous verse, and here the connection with verse number 16 is in 16. Yesterday we learned that the non-intelligent doer is defined. This person, he works with doership mentality because he is illusion, and he is just considering himself to be all in all the doer. He is not considering the other five. There are five factors, right? So the other four factors, He's just taking the responsibility and he thinks I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. And so he's doing it with the doership mentality. And as opposed to that, verse 17 is completely giving us the right attitude of what our right attitude should be in life. We should be an intelligent seer. And so this verse is about non doership mentality. Now, how one is an intelligent seer, we will see that later. I've also tried to add one or two stories and analogies. So it's an interesting way of studying. So, the verse 17 is about loving relationship with Krishna. Do your prescribed duty without attachment to result and with the non-doer mentality. Thus, you will not be bound by Maya. And Arjuna's essential question at the start of Bhagavad Gita is how can one act without being bound? And entire Bhagavad Gita addresses it at various progressive higher levels and speaks about the ultimate perfection of life, which is that all activities should awaken unmotivated pure love of Krishna. So, and that attitude says what? That we believe we are not the controller, we are not the enjoyer, super soul, Krishna is. So, that is the real understanding, right? And I also wanted to just go through the verse step by step. So, verse 5 is, let's put that slide here. What does it say? It says, Yasya na hang krito bhavo. Na, ahan, and krito. What does that mean? It means for a person who is not having ahankar and he is without ahankar, with such a bhava, he acts. Now, buddhir yasya na lipyate. That means such a person's intelligence is not entangled. And then hatvapi sa imalokan. The person does an activity which is as binding as killing. A murder or killing is considered a severe crime. And what a Kshatriya does is he is killing. So this is reference to Arjuna's dilemma in the battlefield. Should I fight or not fight? So Krishna says if one does not have ahankar, if one does not think that he is the doer, then even if one acts, hatvapi sa imalokan, even if one kills, na hanti na nibadyate, one will not become bound and one will not be actually killing also. So, now we will see the main points in this verse. There is quite a few. As I was reading the verse earlier today, more and more points were just coming to my mind, which I just thought, okay, let me jot it down what my understanding is. So this is what I understand. That one who does, this verse is about non-doership mentality, one who does not perform action with false ego, one whose intelligence is not entangled by Maya. By Maya, we mean the modes. And he is the intelligent seer. Who is the intelligent seer? Is that person who is in Krishna consciousness. Such a person is not bound by his actions. So he is intelligent seer who acts in the knowledge of his relationship with Krishna. And we learned this in verse 12 also. He is liberated, not bound by his results of his action, and he works with detachment. So he is neither detached to the work nor he is detached to the results of work, but in fact he offers it to Krishna. And even in verse 9, we learned the three elements, right? That act with the sense of duty, act with free from modes, no attachment to work, and act with the freedom from material association. And fruits of this duty does not belong to me. So these three elements we learnt in verse 9. So all of this is connected, and Krishna very cleverly, progressively explains everything to Arjuna step by step. He's not just downloading everything on him, all the aspects, but he's saying, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. We learned about the Ishtam, Anishtam, Mishram. all the results. So those results are for those people who are working with attachments. So Krishna is explaining all the options that look, Arjuna, what is happening if you, how you should work. Even that Krishna is with what mentality you should work, he's explaining. So, yeah, so basically this verse is, we can say it's also about a bhakti yogi who does his prescribed duty. He is the intelligent seer. He is not attached to his duty. He is free from modes, and he's not working with material consciousness or association. While he's working with the mentality of dasanudas, right? And he knows that the fruits of his duty does not belong to him. He knows that he is not the controller, he is not the enjoyer, but Krishna is. So when one works with this mentality, he will not be bound by his actions. So that's what this verse is about. And there are so many cross references actually I could find for this verse. And it's not possible to list all of them, but at the end we will see that even in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, even if you read Krishna book, there are prayers by the personified Vedas. There also this point is discussed so many times. So all the scriptures, they have the same conclusion that, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. And yesterday how Prabhuji explained, Srila Prabhupada said that, Lord, I am a puppet in your hand, make me dance. So that is the mentality of a true Vaishnava, the devotee, that Lord, you are the controller and I just want to do my work for your pleasure. So yes, that's this beautiful verse is about. Now here in this verse, there is this thing that when I was reading, it says, though he kills men in this world, does not kill. And I thought this should be really elaborated because this verse, if somebody reads out of context, they will think that is this verse licensed to indiscriminate killing? No, not at all. This verse is about transcendence. So what happens here is that Arjuna is on the battlefield. He is a warrior and his duty right now is to fight. That's why this example is given by Krishna. But actually, this verse graphically is illustrating the philosophical principle that unattached action is unentangling. This principle has nothing to do with killing. So obviously, a doer must act responsibly. He chooses his action. First of all, he makes a choice. It should be responsible choice. And he has to take responsibility of his action. He can't say that there are 5 factors, so no. So then that is not the right attitude. A murderer cannot drop a bomb and say that I am not the doer. So he is renouncing doership. That is not that's not right. Police can also say then that we will catch you and we will hang you, and we are also not the doers. So that's not what this verse is about. Now, so what it is about, this was graphically, yeah, so the principle of has nothing to do with killing, and the point is that one can stay karmically safe even while entering into a war, which is a warrior's prescribed duty. And he does not let the war enter into himself. So meaning is that the warrior does not let the passion, the fury, and the frenzy, the overall that's called in one word attachment, associated with the war, possess him. So the warrior is going to do his activity, but he will not let whatever that works, the qualities enter in him. No, when he does that, then he becomes attached. So that's what he has to avoid. And significantly, even this verse also culminates into 18.66. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Surrender service to Krishna, For Krishna, being the Lord of everything, including karma, can indemnify or secure us from all the karmic reaction. So, and also in 18.73, Arjuna will reveal his consciousness to Krishna after hearing everything. He says that Nashto Naha Smrutir Labdha Tvat Prasadan Mayachita Stitosmi Gata Sandeha Karishye Vachanam Tava. My illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from my doubt. I am prepared to act all to your instructions. So, like Arjuna, we too may have to do entangling duties, right? We can enter these duties without letting them enter us, meaning we can prevent excessive attachments to enter into us if we try our devotional disposition, let Krishna enter and occupy our heart. Then that focus on serving Krishna will by his grace not only protect us from bondage but also lead us to liberation. So also there is one more point that I wanted to mention here, that we have to take responsibility of our action and making a choice. It is we who are the choosers of our action, because there is always a free will, and it is we who are desiring the doers. So there are 5 factors. We are one of the factors. So this, it's like a puzzle, right? And we are just a small part of it. All the 4 factors are material, but super soul is spiritual. Of course, the jiva part is spiritual, but we learned all the 5 factors, right, in verse number 13. So, what I wanted to say is that when we think that we are the only doer, that's when we are in illusion. So there are generally so many conditions to be fulfilled before achieving something. And prior to this verse, also in 18.9, Krishna says that one has to work according to prescribed duty, and while doing so, one should do that in a mood of detachment. So, whimsical, non scriptural, and arbitrary action, which means a random choice, will cause us bondage. This kind of action is not recommended in scriptures at all. So, definitely not killing, that's not recommended at all. Such actions are not licensed or rationalized by the Vedas. So what this verse is assuming is that the action is according to A, scripture, B, it is done with the detachment, and C, it is done to please Krishna. Krishna is the controller, permitter, and overseer. You know, we know this verse also. I have put that verse here. Bhoktaram. Yeah, upadrashtanumanta cha, bharta bhokta maheshwara, paramatmeti chapya ukto, dehesmin purusha para. Krishna, the supreme proprietor, is overseer and permitter. There is nothing in this world that happens without his permission. So even if we just read this one verse, we can understand verse 17 very clearly, that without his, we are not the doers. Look here, it clearly says Upadrashta and Anumanta. Upadrashta means the one who is overseeing all the activities, like the 2 birds in the tree, and Anumanta, the one who is giving permission. Without that, this can't happen. And yesterday also, upon that question, Prabhuji explained the Prakrute Kriyamanani, that the modes are acting, one of the factors. So it's not us definitely the doer. No, not at all. So that's what I wanted to discuss here. And Srila Prabhupada also says in the purport that when a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. Why? Because when the commander is giving the command and soldier is doing the action, he is doing his duty. He is in his prescribed duty and he is performing the duty. But when he is doing something on his own to satisfy his own whimsical desire of killing, then he is definitely bound, because that's not as per his prescribed duty. And that action is done with the modes, completely in the mode of ignorance. And we know the result, anishtam. There will be a reaction to this action, there will be a sinful reaction. So, also, I wanted to just mention that the only reference of war in last 6 chapters after verses 11.32 and 34 is mentioned in this verse. So that is just something that I thought that I'll mention. And then we come to slide number 8. Yes, so we know there are these 5 factors of action, and that is, adhishthanam, the body, the senses, the karanam, the karta, the soul, and cheshta, the endeavor, that is the living force, and the super soul. So all of these are there, and there is also 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita which are connected. But seeing the time, I won't go into that detail. The 5 topics everyone knows: Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. Right. So these 5 factors of action, they relate to Jiva, Ishvara, and Prakriti. So that's how it is. Prakriti comes under the 2 factors, Adhishthanam and Karanam, the body and senses, and the other 2 factors come under Jiva, the Karta, the soul, and Cheshta. All the senses can only get activated by the endeavors, various endeavors, the living force. So that's how that is connected. And yeah, so here, say for example, here the Krishna is mentioning killing because Arjuna is a warrior. So he is giving this example that Arjuna, your seva is of a warrior. You are on battlefield. So if you will kill, you will not get the result of killing. But for us, I had thought of some examples. For example, say someone is making garlands for Krishna in the temple, then there are so many factors involved. The person who has prepared the garland is not the only doer, right? So say for example, someone has to grow the flowers, plug them. Okay, if you don't grow, then someone has to go to the market and procure the flowers, arrange the flowers, someone has to manufacture the needle, thread, someone has done it, right? And then we go and buy the needle, thread, everything has to be put together. And then finally the garland is made. So many people are involved in one activity. And another practical example we can give is the prasadam distribution at temple that happens, daily basis and even on Sundays. And now more practical example would be, say, parcel packets that are made and distributed by Food for Life. So first the prasadam has to be cooked, from getting and procuring vegetables, cutting it, cooking, assisting, offering prasadam, transferring it to big vessels, then into small vessels, transport it to serving area. And if we go trace it back to the farmer who has grown those vegetables, how he procured the land. So thousands and hundreds and millions of people are actually involved in one activity. That is my whole point here. So the point is, for anything to perform, thousands of people are involved. Ultimately, everything is sanctioned by Supreme Lord and facilitated by the nature. So, to summarize, all 5 factors are involved in any karma, and that's how we should never have this doer mentality. And also in this verse, killing example is given because Arjuna is a warrior on the battlefield, and this verse is not a sanction to killing. Arjuna is involved in fighting as a war seva, and that's why Krishna is giving this example. And we looked at the examples of garland making and preparing prasadam, for example. So each lifetime, our prescribed duty may be Kshatriya warrior or Brahmana or devotee. So, this is just one lifetime. And unattached action is entangling and giving up doership mentality is the best way forward, and knowing that Krishna is the super soul, he is the maintainer, he is the Anumanta and Upadrashta. Also, Arjuna is playing the role of Kshatriya, but ultimately, soul is not Kshatriya. Next lifetime, it could be Shudra. So, in Padyavali 74 CC Madhya, let me just bring that slide. There is this beautiful verse. 13.80 that it clearly says here the four social orders and ashramas are only temporary phases or identification within one lifetime. Soul is ultimately gopi bhartu pad kamalayor dasanudas. Soul is ultimately servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord of the gopis. Who is that? Krishna. So this is how one has to really bring their intelligence to knowing the actual position. What is our actual position? And there is also this beautiful story of Narad Muni. And looking at the time, I think I should be able to cover it. So once upon a time, Narad Muni visited heavenly abode of Lord Vishnu, and he asked him who he thought was his greatest devotee. So Lord Vishnu pondered for a while and told him that it was a poor farmer who lived in a small village in India. So Narad Muni was really surprised and not happy, and he reasoned with the Lord that no one chanted his name more than he did, because Narad Muni is well known for chanting Narayan Narayan every second of his time. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. So Lord Vishnu said, I am giving you one errand. So, because Narad Muni was not convinced, Lord Vishnu found a way out to help him understand that why this farmer is, the greatest devotee. So, Lord gave him a bowl full of oil, and it was filled up to the brim. And the Lord handed the bowl to Narad Muni. He told him that he wanted Narad Muni to take the bowl around the whole world, making sure that while he did so, not a single drop dripped out of the bowl. So Narad Muni carefully took the bowl and left for his journey around the world. Then he returned after a while with the bowl, after having taken it round the world as the Lord had directed, proud of his accomplishment of not having spilled a single drop. As he handed bowl to Lord Vishnu, Lord questioned him, Narada, thank you for running this errand for me. How many times you chanted my name as you went around the world with this bowl? And Narad Muni was left speechless. He had been so engrossed in making sure that not a drop of oil spilled out of the bowl that he had completely forgotten to chant or remember Lord's name in any way. He was so engrossed, attached to the work and the result, because he wanted to prove that he will not be spilling the oil. In that process, he forgot the Lord, whose name he was chanting every second of his life. So he still argued that it was your errand, Lord, and I was doing the work you wanted me to do. So Lord said, Narada, that farmer is also doing the work I have picked for him, dealing with all the circumstances I have given. And in spite of all this, he remembers me while doing every single activity. He says his gratitude prayers to me day and night. He thanks me, offers his results to me without being attached to his work or the fruits. He works for me, he loves me, and he is devoted to me. He is free of false ego. He identifies with the soul. He works with the consciousness that, my Lord, you are the enjoyer, you are the controller. I want to please you. And he knows his relationship with me. That is what makes him my greatest devotee. So that was the moral of the story, that always remember and chant Lord Hari's names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Offer your results to Krishna with love. Remember him all the while you do your dharma, your prescribed duty. Surrender to him. That is the true sannyasi. Although he is a farmer, he is working in the spirit of a true sannyasi. So I thought that was such a beautiful story. When I read it the other day, I thought, oh, I really want to share this. And the time is short, and there is the Bhagavad Gita 3.42 purport, and you can always read it at home. You can note down the verse 13.23 and 3.27 is also cross reference for this verse 17. And CC Madhya 13.80 verse, Gopi Bhartu Pad Kamalayor Das Dasanudas. So even this we can read at our own time. With reference to this verse, actually there was one small thing that I wanted to share, like an analogy. So let me see if I can, what is 832? Yeah, okay, we can share. So let's have a look. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So our intelligence in this verse, let's pull out this slide number 3. What it is saying here, that whose intelligence is not entangled. Now, this is also one important thing, and I think this very much relates to us in today's life, and that's why I thought I should elaborate on it. So we need to increase our IQ as per this purport of 3.42. Here it says that with intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. So, how do we have this intelligence of being always in Krishna consciousness? So, for that, we need to increase our IQ, the intelligence quotient. And on a practical level, I thought I should mention this because it refers to this verse. So now one may think, what has intelligence got to do with Krishna consciousness? There are three things. There is false ego, there is mind, and there is intelligence. So this false ego is like a boss who will go on giving directions to the mind and intelligence. I want to do this. I am a supreme enjoyer. So this false ego is like a boss, and this mind accepts it. Okay, sir, accepted your order. Then intelligence starts executing the order, right? Say, for example, a child, he says he has a desire, he wants to eat ice cream. Now, the false ego gives instruction that I want to enjoy ice cream. And the mind says, okay, sir, done. Intelligence will now start making plan. The child will think how to make my parents agree to get me an ice cream, what excuses I can make. This is how the whole nexus works. So the false ego is the boss. Now, the thing is, in lives of a pure devotee, false ego becomes a real ego. So when the real ego is the boss, there is no problem, there is no harm. Because in a pure devotee's life, a real ego is completely convinced that I am the servant of Krishna and my life is for making Krishna happy. So the moment the real ego gives instruction, mind says, okay, sir, and intelligence starts making plan how to serve Krishna nicely. So there is no issue in their life. They are happy. Now, the second category is, say, for example, materialistic people, right, who are not Krishna conscious, but they also sometimes seem happy because they are completely convinced that my life is for my enjoyment, for my entertainment, and then the mind gives the order to intelligence, and then the intelligence starts working to provide for their desires. So they don't know any better. It continues like that. But who is not comfortable? That is us. I would say me, for example, the sadhakas. Because sometimes our ego will become real ego. I am the servant of Krishna. I don't want to gratify my selfish desire. I want to do something for Krishna. But sometimes our ego turns into false ego. We go on changing this dress. I want to go to this party, this vacation, event, movie, entertainment. So all the time, mind is battling whether I should go for sense gratification or or I should be serving Krishna. Because we are not able to take one particular role, we are switching between two roles, right? I mean, this happens quite a lot in devotees' lives. There is, when we put on a mask, like we present ourselves that we are pure devotee, but it's very difficult to get to that stage. And I'm speaking for myself, for a sadhaka, this does happen a lot. So, what we need to do is we need to remove this boss who is very confusing, this false ego. This boss in our hearts, we need to remove him. Pure devotee's heart has no problem. And our heart, this boss is very confused, the false ego. So sometimes he says, let's enjoy, and sometimes says, let's do Krishna Seva. So let's remove this false ego from the position of boss. So who will take up the position of boss? There are only three people working in our office. So false ego, mind, intelligence. So let's make intelligence the boss, and let's remove false ego from this position of a superior. So how to make the intelligence boss? Something intelligence has to do to become the CEO of this company is that we have to empower our intelligence by scriptural knowledge. From Bhagavatam, we read and hear Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, then the intelligence becomes the boss. Now, intelligence will tell the false ego, you are not the boss, you are not the soul doer, you are not the enjoyer. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. This is how I am going to work. And so everything will fall into place. So we need to increase our intelligence quotient. That's what this verse is referring about, the intelligent seer. That is the theme of this verse. So we want to become intelligent seer. And for that, we read, we hear scriptures, and we analyze. We sit together with devotees, like these chat classes. We are discussing the verses of Bhagavad Gita. We try to understand things as they are and as we are supposed to understand them in the disciplic succession. So, the bona fide disciplic succession, and we need to understand that everything is happening in this world. Krishna is behind it. So, how will one understand that? From this knowledge of the scriptures, from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So that's why I wanted to stress out this point that in a life of sadhaka, it is very important to keep in the devotee association and always keep sharpening our knowledge, keep updating, keep repeating the knowledge of the Shastra, reading, hearing. And there is this beautiful verse. I wanted to end on a happy note. I really like this verse. It's from Canto 4, the creation of fourth order. And in one of the Bhagavatam Sanghas, we are discussing this canto. That's how I was reading it up. And I thought I must share because it is in connection with this verse also. The Prachetas, there are 10 Prachetas who are the sons of Prachina Barhi, who is in the disciplic succession yes, so there is a long disciplic succession, and Prachina Barhi is in that disciplic succession. So the Prachetas are his sons, and he sends them to the forest to gain the knowledge, and then even Lord Shiva comes and talks, gives him the knowledge. And here they are saying the prayers, and they are saying in verse 19, that those who are engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all the activities is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, when one acts, he offers the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and passes life always engaged in the topics of the Lord. Even though such a person may be participating in family life, he is not affected by the results of his actions. And this verse is a beautiful cross connection to verse number 17. So yes, just remember Prachina Barhi. He's in the discipline. He's in the this line of Uttanapad, and Uttanapad is one of the sons of Swayambhu Manu, right? And this Canto 4 is it's beautiful, it's wonderful. If you have time to read and hear, then it's just gives a lot of pleasure to learn. So yes, that's what this verse is about. Is there any realization? Sorry, I took up a lot of time. Thank you for bearing with me. If there is any realization, any question, I can try and see if I can.
Hare
Anything?
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Uh, I just wanted to know that what did you say that Canto 4, verse 17?
Oh yes, Canto 4. Okay, let me just share the screen. Canto 4, verse number 19, Mataji. It is
19.
all about pleasing the Lord. So the verse 19 is this chapter is activities of Prachetas, and they are the 10 sons of a king called Prachinabarhi. And also Prachinabarhi is also called Barhisat, and there is also a beautiful allegory story of Puranjan. All of that is in Canto 4, and so this his forefathers were Uttanapad, and he's one of the sons of he had three daughters and two sons. One of them is Uttanapad, the Swayambhu Manu's dynasty. And here the Prachitas, his 10 sons, are doing this beautiful prayer. And, they are saying that those who are engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all activities is the Lord. So, if we act with this consciousness, then we are not going to get entangled in the results of our action. Why? Because we are acting in our real ego. The one I explained, that what the pure devotees have. They just want to serve the Lord. They know their relationship with Krishna. They are not acting to gratify their own senses. Shipra Mataji, is that do you need? Is that okay? Is it clear?
It's okay, thank you. And another question that one more that you said that 5 factors. I just couldn't write it down. Is Jiva, Ishara, and another 3. 5 factors.
Okay, Mataji. So the 5 factors are okay. So the five topics of Bhagavad Gita is Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. And the verse 13 has beautifully explained. Verse number 14 explains the 5 factors, Mataji. I would really recommend if you have time to read the verse number 14. And the 5 factors are Adhishtanam, the place. So that place where the work is happening is the body. First factor, body. Second factor is the worker, that is the soul inside the body. Third is the how is everything happening, the karanam, that is the senses. Third factor. Fourth one is the different kinds of work, the endeavor. The senses are there, but when they get activated, the different types of work, the endeavor happens. And the fifth factor is super soul,
Thank
Supreme
you so much,
Personality of
Mataji.
Godhead.
The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14.
Yes, Mataji. Chapter 14 explains all the 5 factors beautifully.
Thank you very much, Hare
Verse
Krishna.
Verse 14, yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, is there any other question or any other comments, realization? Or we can end the class. It's 8:45. Okay. Everybody seems happy with the verse. Okay, thank you so much, dear devotees, for bearing with me. Thank you so much for your service, enthusiasm, and participation. And I hope to see you all again. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for wonderful class.
Thank you.
Thank you.